When the Soviet Union falls and the new Russia inherits the companies that were state-owned until then, it will also inherit the free market. And in the free market, people often want strange and slightly different things. And the Russians will very quickly discover that in the West, besides the great fascination for AKs, there is also a big market for semi-automatic 12-gauge shotguns. Hello everyone, I'm Vlad Sparastoria. I shoot and can help with shooting. And this very interesting weapon, which mechanically is loosely reminiscent of an AK, is the Vepr 12 gauge. I say it reminds us of an AK as far as the controls go. It's an AK. But technically, for example, the receiver is that of the RPK. The version, let's say the light machine gun, is reinforced with thicker sheet metal, and it also introduces many small improvements to what is typically the AK system. The magazines go in straight, just as they should. And for example, the fact that it has a bolt hold open here as well really helps a lot with handling. Then if you play Tarkov, you definitely know this weapon, which is kind of a meme, an icon in certain circles. Besides the fact that weapons like these are being used more and more in war, simply for anti-drone purposes. There's not a lot of history to tell you, so let's move the camera for a moment so I can show it to you up close. Then, of course, we'll try it out. So let's take a closer look at this. Vepr 12 gauge. Let's start, as always, with the markings on the firearm. So Molot, the manufacturer, Vepr 12. The model here also tells us the gauge. So with the Magnum chamber, 12 gauge, 12 by 76, and made in the Soviet Union. Because obviously they're pretending that... Damn it, I'm Polish and I can't say certain things. Wyazki and Polani. Here at the production site, we also have the products, the necessary proof marks to legally sell the weapon, and the weapon's serial number. The controls we find on this weapon are the standard AK controls. Of course, we have the trigger. I don't need to explain what it's for. The magazine release, here is one of the very first differences we find compared to the AK. The magazine comes straight out. As you can see, it's not a nose-in rock back like on AKs. Honestly, this one works just a bit better. This feature is perhaps a bit more complicated mechanically and requires this extension, which normally isn't present on AKs, but honestly, I prefer this system over the other one. Also, besides the charging handle, we also have the safety lever, which, when engaged, obviously allows us to put the weapon on safe. Other controls we can consider are those related to the folding stock. This weapon has a folding stock. By releasing this lever, I can fold it for greater compactness, maybe during transport. By the way, the safety is also replicated on this side. One of the so-called problems. It's not a real problem, but a matter of philosophy and how we approach handling the firearm. One of the things about AKs is that they were designed in the Soviet way of holding and operating the weapon with the right hand. So I let go of the grip, I take my hand off the trigger to operate it. The safety, the bolt lever, the magazine release. And many people find themselves, especially in the West, where it's the opposite, where they tend to teach you to always keep your grip, both on long guns and handguns, and operate everything else with the left hand. I repeat, there are advantages and disadvantages to both systems, but generally in the West. Simply put, even when I give lessons at the Legnano shooting range, I teach people to hold the weapon with the strong H and handle it with the weak hand. In this case, for most normal people, the left hand, the weak hand. And that's why, for example, you sometimes see me operating the AK with my left hand. Well, since this is a weapon mainly designed for the West, not only were the Russians not the ones to invent it, but there are also many Western AKs, in quotes. They have controls adapted for this type of handling, so I can engage the safety by manipulating this lever with my strong hand without letting go, so my right hand stays on the grip. We also find this small feature, for example, in the Tantal and in the Polish barrel. This thing, they're not the first, but the justification for having this control is this. Here, it's simply a different choice in how to handle the weapon itself. Just to close this chapter, think about the Galil, which has a charging handle that can actually be grabbed almost from above the weapon, specifically to be operated with the left hand. Here, the owner has mounted a red dot sight on the Picatinny rail that's present here on the weapon. The weapon, of course, has standard iron sights. And I keep saying AK, Kalashnikov, the receiver. Many of the small mechanical features of this weapon especially are not strictly from the AK but are from the RPK. You might say, Vlad, but it's the same thing, there's no difference. But actually, no, in the details there's a huge difference since it's an RPK. Designed as a light machine gun, it has features that make it so. It has, for example, a longer and definitely thicker receiver. The one on the AK is usually 1 millimeter thick, while this one here is 1.5 millimeters. Actually, this adds up in terms of weight. It also has some improvements like this rail and this cover, which actually pivots open. I'll open it for you like this so you can see it. We have the spring, which also has this button, normally not present in AKs, that actually prevents it from popping out. We can press it in, and that way it works. When you open it, as you can see, it stays here, nice and solid. This helps a lot, for example, when mounting optics. One of the big flaws of the AK, and I say this very often, is that it has that piece of sheet metal up here that moves around, which is not a solid way to mount optics. So, to mount optics, you either use a very solid side rail, but it's extremely heavy, because you have the whole mounting assembly on it. What do I have to do here? Either I have to put a rail in place of the rear sight, which isn't really ideal for the position. This system isn't perfect, but it gives a lot of rigidity, which is what regular AKs lack. This way, optics can be mounted and you can hope they'll hold their zero. This way, we can remove the big recoil spring, which, by the way, I repeat, looks just like a double RPK spring because RPK springs are like this. This way, we can remove the bolt and the bolt carrier. Here too, as you can see, the gas piston is a bit different from the standard AK-1, and also as you can see, it can be unscrewed and screwed back in by removing the pin here, so you can adjust its travel if needed. You know very well that 12-gauge shotguns have a huge variety of ammunition that often requires a bit of adaptation. The bolt is nice and solid, also actually derived from that one, so that's not a problem. A little different from the AKs, you see, we have this rotating bolt head and a central part that actually stays still. And while normally the whole bolt of the AK rotates, this central part stays still, while only the bolt body rotates to go into battery. So here too, we clearly find features that help us adapt this weapon to the needs of the 12 gauge. We can reassemble the bolt. Actually, the major differences end here. It's always interesting to see how these weapons are adapted for this use. Here we have it, we've put it back, so now let's put the bolt carrier back in, and let's put our recoil spring back in. With this guide rod. And this is the plate that needs to go on top here, to protect from dirt and other things, the spring and the bolt carrier. So now we can fairly easily push the spring back in again. Let's see if I can do it here. This makes it a little more complicated for me. Here we go. Everything snaps into place and we're ready to fire. I want to show you one last thing about the magazines. The magazines have a capacity of 8 rounds. That's their maximum. We didn't have any feeding problems at all during the live fire test. The only criticism I can make, you know what it is? They're a bit difficult and tricky to load. Maybe with a bit of practice, obviously. It gets a little better, but you'll see that during the test. Let's go, and here we are to try it out. This Vepr in 12 gauge is really heavy, especially when you see it from a distance. No, you expect an AK, a Kalashnikov, but AKs are actually pretty light. While this one, with its RPK receiver with the long and heavy barrel, is heavy. You can feel it in everything, which hopefully makes it very pleasant to use because for sure, guns this heavy are usually pretty manageable when fired. Let's try a few shots. And being able to build a weapon in a caliber from scratch. Look at how it stays perfectly in hold open. That's definitely one thing the AK lacks. So let me reload and try again, then I'll tell you what I think. The old open is definitely something very enjoyable. That's how it should be. Ha ha ha, now maybe you can't tell, but today I also filmed a video that you've already seen, which is the Winchester 1887. After the traumatic experience of using that weapon, this is surprisingly very enjoyable. Apart from the familiar ergonomics of the AK, it's heavy as hell, so the recoil is greatly reduced. I don't know how much this muzzle device helps in this regard, but for me, as far as I'm concerned, it helps a lot. You can take shots in quick succession without any particular problems. The dot, currently mounted by the owner, allows me to see the target quite well. Actually, you know what? Let me load some slugs, some slug rounds. Let's try taking more precise shots to see if we can hit anything. I'll be honest with you, the magazines aren't exactly the easiest to load. Maybe I need to improve my technique, but sometimes I'm okay. It's full, I'm having trouble loading the rounds and getting them in properly, but other than that, as for feeding, it works absolutely great. Now the target we have is about 20 meters away, but I'm trying to aim, let's say, at the head, quote unquote, of the silhouette. Magazine, bolt, I don't know how it's zeroed. I don't know if we've maintained the zeroing correctly. Wait a moment. Oh. Why won't it go on safety? This is interesting. The safety doesn't seem to work. No, it's cocked. It's cocked. It's interesting because it won't go on safety. We'll take a look at it later. All right, let's try anyway. I have double. That's perfect. All right, I didn't see anything. Nothing happened. Well, going straight now, there are a couple of holes from the previous test, but going straight, I'd say it shoots perfectly straight.
No, non c'entra dentro. Bello.
No, it doesn't go in. Nice, it goes in nice. It's really heavy, you can really feel it. I'm left-handed, so that's why it's called the Inquisition. It's comfortable, it really helps a lot. Go ahead, load it and shoot, let's see. So here too, Emmanuel, he also sacrifices himself with the magnums. I've gotten him used to it. This is different compared to an AK. It goes straight like the ARs, much better. It has a hold open, much better, much better. And now, whoever needs to understand will understand. Let's go clean up factory. Ha ha ha, come on then, let's go first. Impressions.
Even though it's very heavy, and it really is heavy, the magnums. That gun, you'll see, cycles them much better and recoils less.
Ahahaha. So, Orlani is in love with the Beretta 1301, which will be featured on the channel. Don't worry, and you'll see why there's no debate about which is the best semi-automatic. Here with good Matteo, but tell us about this one, because it's not bad either.
No, so it's not bad at all, very heavy, which is a good thing.
It's nice from this angle because it hits hard.
Classic AK controls. You know what? The AK is very recognizable when you start shooting. With the recoil, with the trigger example.
Yes, a fantastic trigger. The main designed part, let's say the Browning, even though many people don't know it.
I really like the AK's trigger, so I get along with it well.
And besides, it has improvements because the magazine fits in the right way. You get a hold open.
This thing is very smart. The hold open, really a quality of life improvement.
The hold open is beautiful. So like an AK, it's better.
Yes, I would say for being a smoothbore shotgun, the point of a smoothbore shotgun. To manage the recoil, what you want to do is the push-pull technique, which means you pull back with your strong hand and push forward with your support hand. And in this way, you can manage the recoil much better.
Yes, it helps a lot.
I don't know if the AK is suitable for this technique, I mean, in terms of shape and ergonomics, because typically, look, I would like to grip it like this.
But it's too wide.
What you should do with every shotgun is like this.
With the Zig lamp, it helps a little less in this case. It's true, but still it performs well.
However, I like it. Very heavy, indestructible.
Probably made in the Soviet Union. That's what they show me when I ask, yes.
Meteor Russia?
Beautiful, 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 beautiful. I like it.
I like it.
Lord, forgive me because I'm about to load some 52-gram magnums and let's see if I survive. These 5 shots. Let's say my teeth are fine. Shooting with a 12-gauge Magnum is an experience I recommend to everyone, but you'll quickly learn it's not something you want to do every day because actually it's quite manageable. Anyway, the weight of the weapon. And the fact that there's this nice cushion here for your face helps, I assure you, it helps a lot. From this point of view, what can I say? This Vepr 12-gauge turns out to be a very interesting shotgun. Unfortunately, there aren't many of them around right now for obvious reasons. But surely if someone is looking for a semi-automatic 12-gauge with a detachable magazine, it's definitely a smart choice. The simple and well-known mechanics of the AK also allow you, for example, to perform maintenance, especially if you know the system, making it clearly easier. There are a lot of great functioning shotguns on the market right now, and this Vepr is definitely an interesting option. Thank you all for watching this video. As always, remember that you make these videos possible. Like today, the owner of this firearm brought it here to the Sir range in the province of Pavia for me to try it out. Without volunteers like you, this channel of mine would be impossible. So if you have interesting firearms, write to me. If you want to support my channel, consider leaving a like, a comment, and maybe subscribing. We organize great events for subscribers, like the recent Black Powder Day with Peter Soli. So if you support me, maybe we'll get to meet at one of these events. That's all from me for today, and as always, I'll see you next time.